My name's Kirsten. I am 40, soon to be 41 years old. I am a teacher. I'm a teacher in Montgomery County. I teach social studies. Also, I teach AP US history, which is also a lot of fun to teach. The kids are great. I'm also a mom. I have two young boys. One is 5 and one is 8. They are chaos, crazy, adrenaline junkies as most little boys are. So keeping up with them is part like my number one priority, especially as they keep getting bigger and they keep being able to outrun me all the time, which is crazy. I'm a wife. My husband is Paul. He is a really supportive partner and a really great dad. And I love him to death. One of my favorite things to do is be outside, being active outside. I love to bike ride. As I got into, my 40s and I was a little bit more sedentary, I realized that I really wanted to sort of keep up with my kids and do better. So that's why I came to you. So I had my last child in 2019. I was all out in front, right? Like everything was front. And so my stomach was extremely distended. I had diastasis. I had a bunch of other issues with my core. And, 3, 4, 5 years later, I would go into work, and no matter how much I worked out, I was working out 2 to 3 days a week through a program that I loved and I still love. I just wasn't seeing any results. And people would come up to me and these are always very lovely, very sweet, well meaning individuals. And they would ask me when I was due. They would come up and be like, "Oh, when are you due? Oh, I'm so excited you're having another one." And it was just like every time it was just like a dagger because I was trying so hard through working out alone, not necessarily dietary modification, just to hear that like preoccupation with how I looked and how it dictated how people responded to me. It was defeating. So last March, my friend Heather, I saw her at my 40th birthday party and she looked fabulous. And by the way, she still does. But she looked fabulous. And I was like, what is going on? I know that she'd been on a health journey herself. And she told me all about you. And we talked and it was great. And it was good to have that phone call, get that information, and then like make those decisions, which were ultimately great decisions. I think as most millennial women, and I'm an elder millennial, so I'm a cusper, but I'm an elder millennial. I'll take it. As an elder millennial, I have in some way been on some diet for almost my entire life. I think, growing up in the 90s with like the fat-free culture, dealing with my mother constantly, she was constantly trying to lose weight herself, and never really successful at it for long periods of time, sort of ingrained that in my brain, right? Like that was crazy. And so I had this really warped view of food. Diet culture forces this concept of like deprivation of certain foods are good foods and certain foods are bad foods. I remember doing Weight Watchers a couple of times. And while Weight Watchers is a fine program and it does help some people, I do know that it like puts emphasis on certain foods, and less of an emphasis on others, right? Like if you eat a candy bar, you're gonna accrue like 15 points, even like a small one, and like an apple is 0, right? Like so, it's supposed to shape and modify behavior, and I totally get that. But I was also at a point where like I understood that there were just some times when I freaking wanted a candy bar, and like I would feel guilty about that. And that's one of the big wins that I had was this like reshaping of like my approach to food. That food in itself doesn't really have a moral value, that it's nutrition. It feeds my body. And if my body wants something, I can have it, within reason, right? Like within reason. I'm not going to go out and eat an entire birthday cake, like a sheet cake. That's just not going to happen. But if I go out to a restaurant and I want a dessert, I can have a dessert, right? Or if I want a glass of wine on a Friday night, I can have a glass of wine, right? Scale wins. I've lost about 11 pounds, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but I also understand for me that coupled with my measurements is actually more the win, because it's 11 pounds, which whoopee, exciting. That's great. It actually took me from like overweight to like almost not overweight. I know there are tons of flaws related to BMI, but I was looking at it, I was like, oh, look, I only have to lose like 4 more pounds and I will no longer be considered overweight at 5'7". What I know, what actually that I've lost things in terms of like the non-scale wins is the inches. And I can't remember specifically how many inches. I'm sure you might have that data. I just haven't been tracking it myself, but I know that from my waistline, I've probably lost at least like 3 or 4 inches maybe. And that in itself has made a huge difference as to how people approach me. They're not saying, "Oh my gosh, you've lost so much weight," but they're definitely not saying, "Oh, when are you due?" And that for me was a huge win. So there's never been a situation where you or Sarah have ever said to me, don't eat that. Sometimes you'll say like, have a piece. And then like for pizza, have a piece and then have some salad. And then if you're still hungry, then go back and have another piece of pizza, right? Like if that's the case. But also, like I typically every Friday night, my husband makes pizza here at the house. He'll make it and we have pizza Fridays every Friday. And I have pizza every Friday. I just don't eat the entire pizza. I'm paying more attention myself to like nutrition labels. I mean, I'm not really focused on the calories so much, but more so like the protein and the carbohydrates and like looking at the macros and seeing like, does this benefit me and fuel my body in the way that I need it to right now? And so, like it's changed sort of what I'm eating, not because I'm like, oh, I can't have that, but more so like, oh, I can have this because it's going to meet my goal for that day, or it's going to meet my goal for that moment. We just my kids, it's so funny now because my boy, they see me at the grocery store and they see me looking at labels and they're like, what are we looking for, Mom? Like, what's happening? What are you doing? Like, well, I'm just looking to see if it's got a good amount of protein because protein helps make me strong. And they will pick up things up and be like, Mom, look, this has 100 calories and 10 grams of protein. I think this is a good one. This will help us get strong. And I'm like, yes. I am more focused on like lean meats. I'm more focused on veggies. I like my veggies. I've always liked veggies. Don't get me wrong. I think I've told you at the very beginning, like my husband and I were vegan for 3 years, a long time ago. And yes, like we lost weight, but the moment we went back to eating other proteins, we gained weight again. So like, it's not about being vegan, being not vegan, veggies versus not veggies, knowing the proportions, knowing what you can eat and knowing that you could eat more sometimes if you choose certain things. And so that was something that's like a behavioral thing that has changed for me. Trying to find those good quality, like proteins, good quality carbs that are going to help fuel my body. The coaching experience has been amazing. First of all, it's been super easy. Getting in touch with you and Sarah has been a breeze. I mean, you're constantly on the app, checking in at least once a day saying, hey, how's it going? I see you did a great job with your nutrition yesterday. Keep it up. Or like, if you see that I haven't worked out in a couple of days, hello, are you alive? What's happening over there? Right. Like, and so that's really great too, because it's motivation for me because I do personally struggle with accountability. Like I need someone to be there saying, hey, get up, get going, move it along. And to know that you guys are there is really helpful for that. But then also on the other hand, like Sarah was really helpful last week. I met with her because I had been doing some hammer curls and I overexerted myself and gave myself a little tennis elbow. And that was fun. I'd never experienced that before. Welcome to your 40s. And Sarah was like, get on, like make an appointment with me. We'll meet. We'll talk through like what we think your rehab should be. And like in the meantime, I went to the doctor. I was like, I'm gonna go see a doctor, just make sure nothing's like real wrong. And their advice was like seamless, complemented each other super well. And it was so helpful to hear another person say, hey, listen, it's okay to rest. And it was so easy to get in touch with you guys and talk through those things. Results speak for themselves, right? Like the fact that I can visibly see a change in my body, I can visibly see a change in my lifestyle. That speaks for itself. No matter what, you are worth it. You do what it takes for you to feel worthy of it because you are worth it. It is an investment. And I did have to speak with, like, just have that conversation budget-wise with my husband. I was afraid to fail. And that was something that, like, my husband, while he was super supportive, was like, listen, it is an investment. Please try your best, like try your best, right? Do what is good for you. But I'm 100% supportive, but like understand that this is an investment for our family. And I was like, it is an investment. And for me, that was motivating. Like for me, I was like, I don't want to let myself down and waste the money, right? That's not what I want. And of course I didn't waste the money. I feel like it was a great investment and continues to be a great investment for myself. But unless you start, you'll never know. And I'm so glad I started. It's completely shifted my perspective on what it means to be healthy. I'm getting enough water. I am getting enough protein. I hopefully am building muscle that will continue to allow me to be active into my 50s, into my 60s. I'm going to knock on wood, God willing, into my 70s and 80s, right? Where I've got the building blocks that I need right now, and I'm building on them to create success for my future. Just medically, I know my body is going to start breaking down protein and muscle as I get older. So the more I can build that up, the better, right? The more I can do now in my 40s, hopefully in my 50s and 60s, I'll continue to do that. The more water I drink and keep hydrated, that is good for my body as well. The more I focus in on making food choices that both are healthy for my body as well as satisfy cravings, because again, I'm going to have them and I'm going to need to live with it. That's great. So the building blocks are there. So I am super hopeful for my future, both short term, right? Like I'm keeping on that progression towards my goals, but also long term, my goal of living a healthy life. And again, I'm knocking on wood when I say a long life, right? Because I'd like to keep that out there. But like my goal of that is looking stronger,